Good morning, everyone. The Committee on the Budget and Government Operations is called to order. We have 5 items on the agenda today. The first item on the agenda is the monthly Rule 45 report, approval of the August monthly Rule 45 report for the committee. Do I have any questions from my colleagues regarding this item? Seeing there are no witnesses either who've signed up to speak on this item, do I have a motion on item number 1 on the agenda? Moved by Alderman Roboris, recommending do pass. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Moving on to the second item on the agenda, from the Department of Planning and Development, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a redevelopment agreement with Mercer Street Holdings 3 LLC and approving the Neighborhood Opportunities Fund grant for Living Fresh Market at 3250 West Roosevelt Road in the 24th Ward. We have NOF Director, Neighborhood Opportunity Fund Director, Susana Soriano from the Department of Planning and Development here to discuss this ordinance. Ms. Soriano? And are you Aaron Dorsey? Yes, hi. Aaron Dorsey from the Department of Planning and Development is also with us today.
Good morning, Chairman Dowell and members of the Budget Committee. For the record, my name is Susana Soriano, and I am with the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund at the Department of Planning and Development. I would like to start by providing you with a general overview of the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund program, and then provide you with some details about the NOF large project before you. The NOF program provides financial assistance to catalytic development projects on the city's south, southwest, and west sides, where the need is the greatest. It leverages the growth of the downtown business district to benefit our neighborhoods most in need by using the downtown density bonus to fund new commercial and cultural projects and drive equitable economic growth in our neighborhoods. The goal is to reinforce and create neighborhood commercial corridors so that neighborhoods do not have to leave their communities to have a cup of coffee, shop for groceries, or dine with family or friends at a nearby restaurant. I'm here today to request approval of a large NOF project. We would like to provide an NOF grant of $1,547,485 to Mercer Holdings 3 LLC to redevelop an existing Leamington grocery store located at 3250 West Roosevelt Road. The redevelopment consists of downsizing the store from 50,000 square feet to 39,000 square feet and rebranding the store into a Living Fresh Market. The project will also include facade improvements and will allow the grocer to modify the store layout, change product lines, and sell cooked and prepared foods to better serve customers' needs. The smaller footprint will also help the store to stay in business as an independent grocer. The estimated total project cost is $2,380,746. Leamington Foods is a family-owned and operated grocery chain in business for about 90 years. The grocer operates another Leamington food store in the Austin community area and a redesigned store, Living Fresh, in Forest Park. Mercer Street Holdings is a single-purpose entity created by Tolis Advisors LP for the purchase and redevelopment of Lawndale Plaza, where the grocer is located. Representatives from Tolis Advisors are in attendance and available to answer any questions as needed. Thank you for your consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Ms. Soriano, just to check, what is the NOF amount again?
The total amount is $1,547,485.
That number is different than what's in the Exhibit A?
That's inclusive of the local hiring bonus.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Alderman Irvin. Do you want to close, Alderman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Based on your statement, does this entity own both the Living Fresh in Forest Park and the Leamington on Madison and Central?
Is that in Austin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just help me to understand this. While Leamington does exist in the community, Leamington has had some challenges. So my concern is, what is different or new about this if we're still dealing with the same group owners, managers of the Leamington that exist?
I'm happy to answer the question, but it looks like...
We'll have Alderman Scott wants to answer that question for you. Thank you. Alderman Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So they have a partner in Living Fresh, and so it is not a sole proprietor as Leamington is. The family owns Leamington's. They have a partner in Living Fresh. They're also going to bring in, because it is something that the department required, they're going to bring in an advisor to kind of help them move forward with this project, because they are not always sensitive to the cultural issues that exist in communities like ours. And so they're bringing a partner in to kind of help them manage that aspect and to make sure that they're bringing in fresh product, making sure that the store is run in a 21st century manner, because Leamington's is not always done that way. And so hopefully and we have, I think, benchmarks inside of this NOF grant that if they're not operating at a certain standard, then we are able to pull back on that grant. And so hopefully all of those things combined will make a better product in the Living Fresh brand that will be at the Lawndale Plaza.
Alderman Irvin.
So, I'll leave it at that. Amen.
Ms. Soriano, is the TOLUS advisor the advisor for this entity?
They are the owners of the shopping center where the grocer is located.
Alderman Burnett?
So at this location, is this a food desert over there?
Very much so. Alderman Talia Farrell?
What's the grant amount again?
It's $1,547,000, $485.
Okay, and this is just for the Living Fresh Market store?
Correct.
Okay, 1.5 million?
Say that again?
Did you say 1.5 million?
1.5, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Talia Farrell. Alderman Scott to close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So for my colleagues who don't know about the history of this shopping center, it was developed, I think maybe 23 years ago by a community member who went out and got a large TIF investment from the city of Chicago, developed a mall in a community that had not had a grocery store in, I think, since '68, since the riots. That grocery store was doing well. It was a Dominick's before Dominick's left the city of Chicago. In the transition of when Dominick's left and the community partner who kind of developed the mall was trying to get out, there was a person who bought the mall sight unseen from California. He was not the best landlord of said property. And since his purchase of that property, the value of the mall continued to decrease, and the anchors that actually anchored this mall, something that is desperately needed in this community, began to fail. And so over the course of the last 4 years, we have been trying to bring in another grocery store or another partner to kind of help with that mall to make sure that we had an anchor tenant so that this mall would not fail. When the Neighborhood Opportunity Grant came about, at that time, the owner kind of walked away from the mall, and TELUS Advisors purchased the mall, and we've been working desperately to make sure, one, that we have a anchor such as a grocery store in this mall. But moreover, this mall does not die. It is in the heart of my community. It is the largest, not the largest job opportunities, but the largest place to shop in my community. And so we've been trying to save this anchor. And because of Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, we have been able to do that. Again, Tullis Advisors has stepped up and become a great partner. And we've also been working with Leamington, who actually came in and stepped in when the Safeway moved out of the community and Dominic's moved out. And so we wanted to make sure that they, as a partner, continue to get the support that they need. They're willing to change this big box, which was 40,000 square feet or more, to a smaller box, which is more manageable for them. Also will provide them the opportunity to do a better product. We'll also have a hot food bar, which is something that is desperately needed. You can't grab a great lunch in North Lawndale without probably exiting the community. And so this will do all of those things that we need to have happen. And I would ask the support of my colleagues to make sure, one, we do not have a food desert. We have a better product in a community that desperately needs one. And then two, help this mall continue to be an anchor in the community that is on the rise. So again, I thank you for your support and look forward to a yay vote. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Scott, Alderman Hairston, and then Alderman Burnett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I walked in a little bit late, and I thought you were talking about a supermarket, and I thought you were talking about something happening in my area, because it's the same story. So I just want to go on record as saying congratulations. I know how hard you worked. You know what it's like for a community not to have access to any grocery stores. When I talk to other kids in other neighborhoods, they can't believe that there is no grocery store. Their options every day are which grocery store do I go to, not whether there is a grocery store. So nobody will understand better than I the struggles and the challenges that it took, because you would think that everybody does not have the need to eat every day, because it's something that corporate America just ignores. So congratulations.
Thank you, Alderman Hairston. Alderman Burnett.
Yeah, and I concur with Alderman Harrison. Just wanted to know, so this is just $1 million is not a whole lot of money, right? I'm sure that this project is going to cost, do we know the total cost of the project?
A little north of 2.3 million.
2.3 million?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then do you know how many people are going to be employed there?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but we did ask about that. Do you remember? I think it was 40?
Yeah, I believe 40.
40 employees.
40 people, and that's just on that's to work inside the store. They have to do construction on the store?
No, those are the employees.
Do they have to do construction on the store? They have to
But
build
yeah,
it?
they will be doing, yeah, there will be
So it's going to be
construction.
construction jobs and
Correct.
a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
So it's, this is a great thing for the west side. They need it over there. And maybe I'll get that from Mike in a remap. I'll take it from him in a remap. And put it in the mobile.
Alderman Taliaferro.
Yeah, Chairman, I just have one question, and I do want to congratulate Alderman Scott for his hard work in bringing this much-needed resource to the west side. What does this do for the balance of the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, and does this sit within a TIF that would be better used and better served for this project? Because I think if we start depleting that balance in the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, it really lessens the opportunities for citywide small businesses, where if it sits within a TIF, it would be better served by trying to use that TIF.
I don't remember if it's in a TIF, but go ahead. Yeah.
Alderman Scott.
So Alderman, I would have loved to have used TIF for a project such as this. Unfortunately, my predecessor let the TIF in which this mall was developed, he let that expire the year before I came in. And so we've been looking for opportunities to, one, because I would have loved to invigorate the mall with a shot of TIF and just help the mall overall. But that is not the case because the TIF expired the year before I came in. And I would let them speak to you about the balance of the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund.
So, in response to your question with regards to the NOF funds, we do have funds that we allocate for large projects, and we try to do that every year, and we're very selective with the projects that we choose. They have to be a project that is great for the community, that fills a gap in the community, and as we know, this is a much-needed resource for the community, a grocery store. So we think it's a great fit for a Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. And we do have funds available for small projects, which of course are always a priority.
Project in Alderman Scott's ward and on the west side of Chicago. So you guys have the TIF used in my ward was over 1 million as well, and it has served my community very well. So congratulations, Chairman Scott.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Thank you, Alderman Taliaferro. When's the next NOF grant?
The next, we're estimating to have another rollout in January 2020, and we will definitely post that and make those announcements.
Yes, Alderman Villegas?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I didn't hear a dollar amount, what was left in the balance of the NOF.
The remaining in the balance, I can follow up with you on that one. I'm happy to do that.
Okay, through the chair, can you get the information to me so we can distribute it to all of my colleagues? Seeing that there are no other questions or witnesses on this, I'd like a motion to move to pass on this item. Moved by Alderman Rodriguez. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? In the opinions of the chairs, the ayes have it. Congratulations, Chairman Scott. This is definitely a needed resource in North Lawndale. The third item on the agenda is from the Office of Budget and Management, an amendment to year, what's that, 10, 15, to the management to year 50, I don't know what that means, XLV. Community Development Block Grant, Cdbg Ordinance, authorizing the name change of a delegate agency program funded under the Home Ownership Counseling Services. Do I have a motion to accept the substitute ordinance? Moved by Alderman Quinn. Motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. We have Deputy Budget Director LaToya Vaughn from the Office of Budget and Management to explain the substitute ordinance. Do you know what this number is? Okay, XLV is 45, so it's year 45 of the Community Development Block Grant.
Good morning, Chairman Dowell and the members of the committee. I'm LaToya Vaughn, Deputy Budget Director with the Office of Budget and Management, and I'm here to present the the CDBG grant amendment. This amendment is requesting authorization for the additional allocation of unspent CDBG funds from prior year to offset the decrease in funding received from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in the amount of $641,260. The total grant award for the CDBG program is $91,987,000. The Department of Housing is requesting to rename an organization. The organization's name used to be Northside Community Federal Credit Union and is now being replaced with Great Lakes Credit Union. The Department of Family and Support Services is requesting to reallocate funding from the Goldie's Place organization, which is in the 40th Ward. They're reallocating $96,301 to several delegate agencies. The delegate agencies are Chinese American Service League, which is in the 25th Ward. The current award amount is $86,400. The new increase is going to be $109,764. Also, the McDermott Center, also known as the Haymarket Center, their current award is $50,000. We're increasing that to $73,455. St. Leonard Ministries is currently funded, they are in the 27th Ward, and they're currently funded at $65,000, and we're increasing that award amount to $90,018. Safer Foundation is in the 42nd Ward. They are currently funded at $89,000, and we're increasing that amount to $113,464. That concludes the CDBG amendments.
Are there any questions? Alderman Moore.
Thank you, Chairman. I know Safer Foundation does things citywide, and so this funding, they're increasing their funding. I'm going to ask about the other ones as well, but just because I know Safer Foundation for sure, although it sits in the 42nd Ward, they do things citywide. So are all of these agencies doing things citywide, or are they specific to the areas?
So the department representatives could speak to that in more depth, but all of these programs all of these delegates provide services for workforce, and they also provide services for homeless. And they accept clients from citywide, but these agencies, the wards that they are actually, that are identified here are their corporate locations.
Right, but so you answered my question. Says all this stuff is citywide, though,
Yes,
services.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Alderman Moore. Seeing no more questions from my colleagues, and we have no witnesses on this item of the agenda, may I have a motion to recommend due pass? Alderman Mitz.
Sir, the golden place, what is that, and why were they decreased in funding, and what were they doing?
The department can give you additional details into the services that Goldie's Place provides in addition to the job readiness training that the program offers. But that organization closed recently. They were awarded $125,000 and they spent $28,699. They were, I believe, intended to serve 42, and they served 21 agencies. And so with the new distribution of funding, those agencies that are receiving additional funding will be able to provide services to an additional 52 clients. So
Are they citywide as well?
Goldie's Place was citywide. They accept clients from citywide, but they do have a corporate location in the 42nd Ward.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chairman.
You're welcome. Alderman Kappelman.
Just a very quick question. In the past, and when we have awarded community development block grants to agencies, we rewarded them for outputs they provided, how many sandwiches they gave out, how many job training sessions that they did. And we're transitioning now to outcomes, how successful they are in getting permanent jobs. Could we have that data that's provided to the chair that can be distributed about the outcomes for these agencies?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Kappelman. Motion made by Alderman Daly for due pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. And we'll move on to the fourth item on the agenda, which is from the Office of Budget and Management, an ordinance concerning an amendment to the annual appropriation ordinance year 2019 within Fund Number 925 for the Department of Police. Do I have a motion to accept the substitute ordinance? Moved by Alderman Moore to accept the substitute ordinance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The substitute ordinance will also be explained by Deputy Budget Director Latoya Vaughn.
The Department of this 925 grant amendment is requesting the authorization to accept $4,809,000 in additional funds from various federal and state agencies. The Department of Public Health is requesting additional federal pass-through grant funds in the amount of $79,000 from the U.S. Department of Agriculture pass-through to the Illinois Department of Human Services. This is to support the Women, Infant, and Children Nutrition Program. The Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women and Infants and Children provides supplemental food, health care referrals, nutritional education, and counseling for breastfeeding support for over 25,000 clients located in 15 different community areas throughout the city of Chicago. This increase in funding will provide additional resources for program implementation and supplemental materials. The supplemental foods that are provided are milk, cheese, egg, and those are all provided to women, infant, and children of the program. The Department of Family and Support Services is requesting additional federal grant funds in the amount of $3,008,000 from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. This is through the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. These funds are to support the Community Services Block Grant Program. Funds will be used to assist low and moderate income people with attaining self-sufficiency by providing case management, community services, homeless services, and workforce services. These funds will increase support for homeless and workforce programs and scholarships. As of June 30th, 2019, this program served 23,362 unduplicated clients, and in the third quarter, reports will be distributed in October 31st of this year. The Chicago Police Department is requesting new federal grant funds in the amount of $503,000 from the U.S. Department of Justice for the National Crime Statistics Exchange Implementation Assistance Program. These funds will be used to modify and enhance the Chicago Police Department's Citizen and Law Enforcement Analysis and Reporting System, also known as CLEAR. This is a crime reporting system that is entered by police officers and detectives to capture and report crime data that complies with the FBI National Incident-Based Reporting System. The Department of Police is also requesting additional federal grant funds in the amount of $287,000 from the U.S. Department of Transportation, passed through the Illinois Department of Transportation for the Sustained Traffic Enforcement Program. Funds will be used to conduct occupant protection and impaired driving campaigns across the city during various holidays and special events throughout the year based on locations provided by IDOT in order to reduce crashes and resulting fatalities and injuries. The Chicago Police Department is requesting new federal grant funds in the amount of $150,000 from the U.S. Department of Transportation passed through to the Illinois Department of Transportation for the Safe Routes to School program. These funds will be used to expand and support the Chicago Police Department's parent patrol programs in 25 K through 12 schools in three police areas. Funds will be used to purchase the following items for parent patrol programs, including traffic barricades, movable slowdowns for pedestrian signs, traffic cones, bicycle helmets, in addition to other equipment. The Office of Emergency Management and Communication is requesting new state funds in the amount of $389,000 from the Illinois Emergency Management Agency for the Preparedness and Response Grant. This grant will support the purchase of equipment through the Chicago Public Safety and Homeland Security missions. This equipment will aid in the OEMC and Chicago Police Department and Fire Department special response units to further their terrorism preparedness and response efforts. And that concludes the total of $4,809,000 in 925 appropriation changes.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. Before we go to questions, I would like Chief Jonathan Lewin, if he's here, to explain further. I think when I heard this, I think more of my colleagues would like some definition on this. The National Crime Statistics Exchange Implementation Assistance Program and why these funds are necessary.
Good morning, thank you, and good to see everybody. Chief Jonathan Lewin, Chicago Police Bureau of Tech Services. This grant allows the Chicago Police Department to modernize its incident reporting system. Right now, we are reporting under what's called Summary Uniform Crime Reporting Standards. This standard was developed in the early 1900s. All police departments are mandated to move to this new system, which is called NIBRS, which stands for National Incident-Based Reporting System, by January of 2021. And essentially, it is just a more accurate way of reporting crime. So instead of the current summary method, it is what's called incident-based. So it gives us much more detail, much more accuracy on true crime conditions.
I don't know that they're here, the Department of Health. Is the Department of Health here? You can if you want. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I was talking to Alderman Burnett. Alderman Tunney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to talk a little bit about the step
enforcement, the amount of increase. And just, I know, if I can speak for a couple of my colleagues about Lakeshore Drive, through the chair, can we get the reporting of what we've been doing about speeding on Lakeshore Drive and some of the tickets? And, separate from this, but I can't go to a CAPS meeting without responding to speeding on Lakeshore Drive and what we're doing to slow it down, so to speak. And I know that we're asking for an increase in this. I just want some accountability so we can go back to our neighborhoods about what's happening on Lakeshore Drive. And I know that's north and south, but there isn't a CAPS meeting that this issue does not come up.
Yes, Alderman Tunney, we will get that information to you through the
Great.
chair.
Thank you.
Alderman Villegas? Alderman Carlos Rosa. You all look alike.
So much, Madam Chair. My question relates to the CLEAR database. So there's been a lot of discussion in the media about the City of Chicago's gang database and the way that individuals that are in no way affiliated with a gang are placed on the list. The number of errors that exist on the list, including individuals that are, in some instances, like over 100 years old and are listed on this database. So my question is, as I understand it, there is not just one uniform gang database that includes CLEAR. So I'm wondering if the representative from the police department could explain the way that CLEAR is used to track or monitor alleged gang activity or gang members in the city of Chicago.
Thank you, Alderman. Due to pending litigation related to the gang databases, we can't comment specifically on that. But what I will say for purposes of this grant is that this funding has absolutely nothing to do with the gang database. This is only about crime reporting. So the request here today has absolutely nothing to do with the gang database.
What type of information is kept in CLEAR, and what exactly is reported out to the federal government?
So this grant and the CLEAR incident reporting system is used to track incidents of crime under the current Uniform Crime Reporting Standard and soon-to-be incident-based standard. So everything from thefts to robberies to burglaries to homicides. It's basically the enterprise crime reporting platform for the department.
Does this data include information about who is alleged to have committed the crime?
Yes, reported suspect information is included, witness information. These are all part of the crime reporting standard. So as you know, we've been reporting crime using the CLEAR system since approximately 2001. Prior to that, we were using a legacy mainframe system called Crimes for about 40 years. So this is an attempt to modernize the current system, which is essentially outdated and will have to be replaced by January of 2021 to comply with national reporting standards.
And so if someone is acquitted or found not to have committed the crime, is their information and their data still tied to the incident?
So a supplemental report is completed by detectives, which would update the case information and would either close the case if an arrest has been made, or the case would remain open if it's still under investigation. But as the case progresses, the data is updated to reflect the current investigative status of the case.
This is a data sharing agreement between the City of Chicago Police Department and the Department of Justice and the FBI.
Correct. And just to clarify on what is actually reported to the Department of Justice, it is not any personally identifiable information, so it's nothing about people. It is only aggregate information about the crimes for crime statistics. Correct. Names and addresses are not reported, nothing about individual people, nothing about specific people's addresses. It's just aggregate information.
Yeah, because as I understand it, the Department of Justice and FBI have their own data sharing agreement with ICE. And so despite the city's best efforts, my understanding is that at any point in time, anything that we give to DOJ or the FBI eventually could end up in the hands of the Department of Homeland Security and ICE. And therefore, then we could be inadvertently giving the data and information about individual Chicagoans who may be undocumented to the federal agency tasked with, deporting people who are in the country without authorization. I know we're not here to talk about that data sharing agreement, but before we voted on this budget item, I wanted clarification in terms of how CLEAR interacts with ICE. So what I'm hearing is that there is no personal identifiable information in this database.
Correct. That would be shared. And as you know, the mayor has ordered us to shut off ICE access to the CLEAR system, which has been done.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alderman Ramirez-Rosa. Alderman Wagisback, followed by Alderman Burnett.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Chief Lewin, so this NIBRIS would replace the CLEAR system, but it would also replace the data that's made available through the UCR, this Uniform Crime Reporting?
Yes, it is correct, Alderman. Essentially, it's not really replacing the CLEAR system because CLEAR is still kind of the umbrella term that we use to describe the entire enterprise, but it modernizes our ability to report under the new reporting guidelines.
Okay, does it have any mandate that you have to release the data to the public?
Not specifically under the federal program guidelines, but as you know, we just released a use of force reporting dashboard. We put up a gun offender dashboard about a month ago, and our crime data is all reported and available under the city's data platform, which is at data.cityofchicago.org.
Okay, so the UCR data was that was just released a couple days ago?
Yeah, I think there are, if I'm not mistaken, quarterly updates to the UCR data that get released, and every department in the U.S. Reports UCR data through their state, and then it goes to the FBI. And again, that's that summary data, nothing personally identifiable.
Okay, so our department then forwarded the up-to-date data to the FBI, and we wouldn't see the UCR data here. They would see it, but we wouldn't see it publicly?
You can see it publicly here. Actually, we update every 7 days. Again, if you go to that public data portal. So what you'll see...
I did look at the data portal, and there's only like 400 bits of information there, 400 rows, which doesn't... Is that a weekly update, the 400, or is that for the whole year? Because
that's the default view, but there's full data going all the way back to 2001.
Okay.
And we can show you separately how to query that.
Okay. I just remember we had an issue with that a couple years ago where we were not seeing data. It didn't seem like we were seeing data up to date. And so the information that you just put out a couple days ago is only through 2018?
Correct. Because UCR is always backdated.
Okay. So does this guarantee then that the public would see more data made available through this NIBRIS system, or are we sort of working on the old platform?
So our plan, once we do start reporting under NIBRS, is to present that information publicly as well, and much more often than the FBI would release it.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Lewin. Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chairman Wagisback. Chairman Burnett.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. First of all, I think this is great that we have these pass-throughs coming from the federal government. Also, I commend the Department of Health on the food program that they're getting. But just as my colleague went a little out of line, I just have a question for the Department of Health, Madam Chair. From what I understand, several of us African-American aldermen have been getting approached by the African-American gay community in reference to some funding that was given for HIV and AIDS. And the African-American gay community is saying that, of course, as always, and this is not the first time we've been here, that they've gotten the short end of the stick, that it appears that the predominantly white gay organizations is getting all of the money when we have a large population in the African-American community who's challenged with HIV and AIDS, and we need money on the west and the south side. So I was wondering if someone from the Department of Health can say something about it. Of course, I take into consideration that we do have a new commissioner of the Department of Health who may not be abreast of this. Hopefully, whatever the situation is, that we can make sure there's some equity involved with this situation, and if they can explain to us what the situation is.
Yeah, thank you, Alderman Burnett. I'm not sure, we have Ayanna Thomas here from the Department of Public Health. I'm not sure that she can answer that question, but give you an opportunity to try.
Hi, Ayanna Thomas, Supervisor of Grants Administration. So today I was prepared to talk about WIC, but I will definitely take your concerns back to our Acting Commissioner, Allison Arwadi, and she'll make sure to pass some information on to the chair to share with the committee.
So, Madam Chair?
Yes, Alderman Burnett.
So, Madam Chair, definitely we want to make sure that there's equity. We got a budget coming up, and I'm not voting on the budget if it's not fair.
I hear you on that, and I have been approached by some of those same organizations, and what I would like to do is have a meeting outside of this hearing today with the Department of Health and perhaps some of those advocates to discuss this in more detail. Point of information, Alderman Sawyer, and then we'll go to Alderman Kappelman.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. For any clarity, Acting Commissioner Arwadi will be in our committee hearing tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Actually, she's up for confirmation, so it might be a good time to bring that up.
Excellent point. Alderman Kappelman, and then Ms. Vaughn wanted to add. Well, Alderman Kappelman, before you go, if you want to add to this discussion, Ms. Vaughn?
Just to provide a little bit more detail, and I know you guys are going to be this committee will be meeting with the Health Commissioner, but I know that the Health Department has been working diligently on consolidating the HIV portfolio, and they recently released several RFPs, and I know those were all competitively bid through the e-procurement system. I don't have the exact dates of when those RFPs were released, but the department is transforming the way that they manage the HIV programming as a whole. So just to give you a little bit more background to that process.
Alderman Burnett, and then Alderman Kappelman, just to finish this up.
So I'm a little frustrated because this is not the first time we're down this road. We've been down this road several times. So we, it just get frustrating when you have to keep advocating for, and I'm not even in the gay caucus, right? but it's about the African Americans being treated unfairly. So we need to, hopefully we don't have to come down this road again. We just want to make sure it's okay. Okay?
Absolutely. And we can talk through the agencies that have been recommended for funding for those HIV-funded agencies.
We will follow up on this, Alderman Burnett. Alderman Kappelman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was an HIV case manager back in 1988. I became that because a lot of my white gay friends were dying, and when what we discovered as we were addressing the AIDS crisis was that the west side and the south side of the city was being decimated, and that the resources were not being equitably distributed. And so around that time, the AIDS Foundation of Chicago was established. Their job was to ensure that there was a more just, equitable distribution of those resources, especially in those areas with extreme poverty and institutional racism. AIDS Foundation has laid down the path to make that work. I would strongly suggest that those in the Department of Public Health utilize what has already been done and improve upon that and make it data-driven. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Kappelman. Can I get a motion to accept the substitute ordinance? Moved by Alderman Riley. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? In the opinion of the chairs, the ayes have it. The substitute ordinance will be reported out at our next City Council meeting. You know, actually, I made a mistake here. Is George Blakemore here? Well, I admitted to this one, so you have 3 minutes.
You still make it. I read articles about you. And I was very negative against Carrie Alston, but you even worse. You're worse. She will let people speak on every item, and you coming up with another system trying to silence people. You don't have any public participation here. You should welcome somebody from the public. And then you come, you're worse. Okay, anyway, talking about gay and lesbians. Institutional racism, the white gay community is just like the heterosexual community. Institutional racism. Because a person's sexuality is just as racist and just as bad, or worse. Or worse. Or worse. These resources are not coming to the black gay community. They're not going to come. Number one, because the black gay community is poor. All these wealthy gay people up on the north side. Money talks and bull walks. And you can fill in that other blank if you want to. I'm not the one. I'm not the one. And you come in with a substitute ordinance. You should have this prior to, if you, not at the last moment, I should have been able to read this yesterday. And you just pop up today. That's illegal. And you not calling a person for every item, why don't you want to hear from the public? And it's specifically targeted to me. I read in the paper, say, old 76-year-old man, that's why they stopped the lottery. That's why they started the lottery. It used to be first come and first served, but because of me. Mr. Blakemore, you must be somebody. Oh, you're not that much, Mr. Blakemore. The ancestors sent you. They prepared you for these days. They prepared, and you sitting up there, and then the black community, gay community, not getting nothing. You're not getting nothing in no community. Economic development. Crime. This is dealing with crime. And particularly people of color, black people. That's the way we can get our reparation. If we had black sitting here that's advocating for us. We don't have a voice. So after you pass this, no black person down here for Mr. Blakemore. So stop hating. All of you. You black ones and you white ones. Why would you want to silence me?
Thank you, Mr. Blakemore. And if you were here on time, you could have spoke to the other items. So we'll move to item number 5 on our agenda. An ordinance introduced by Alderman Dowell, Alderman Smith, and Alderman Riley, amending Municipal Code Chapter 2-53 concerning powers and duties of the City Council Office of Financial Analysis. Scott Spears from the Law Department is here today to discuss the ordinance. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Dahl and members of the Committee on the Budget and Government Operations. My name is Scott Spears, and I'm an attorney in the Law Department's Legal Counsel Division. I prepared this amendment to Chapter 2-53 of the Municipal Code of Chicago concerning the Council Office of Financial Analysis, or COFA, at the request of Chairman Dahl. This amendment contains both general language cleanup and substantive changes. To make this chapter more consistent with similar chapters in Title II, the amendment changes the title of Council Financial Analyst to Director. In order to streamline the ordinance, the Council Office of Financial Analysis is shortened to Office. This amendment eliminates the Council Office of Financial Analysis Oversight Committee, which was contained in sections 50 and 60. This oversight committee had an unnecessarily complex structure and served only two purposes: to make a recommendation for the appointment of the director and to issue rules and regulations for the office's operation. Section 20 is amended to provide that the director's appointment will now be made by the chairman of the Committee on the Budget and Government Operations, and that appointment will still need to be confirmed by a vote of 2/3 of all members of the City Council, which is 34 members. The director can also be terminated by a 2/3 vote of the City Council with or without cause. The section containing the director's qualifications is cleaned up, with the only substantive change being the elimination of the requirement of having not been employed by the city for 3 years before the date of appointment. The amendment also adds language to Section 20C to eliminate a possible legal challenge concerning the eligibility of the director or an employee of the office to run for or hold elected office or participate in a campaign for elected office. This language has the same effect as similar language contained in Section 2-56-150 concerning the prohibition on the Inspector General's political activities. Section 30 makes several changes to the director's powers and duties, the first of which is to clarify that all reports issued by the office will be provided to members of the City Council through the Committee on the Budget and Government Operations. Many of the powers and duties in Section 30 contained obsolete language or were duplicative, and the amendment addresses those issues. There are two substantive changes. First, the office will be providing a more frequent quarterly report to the committee on its activities instead of an annual report. Second, any member of the City Council may request that the office perform a financial analysis. Before this amendment, only the chairman of the Committee on the Budget and Government Operations could make this request. Section 35 is new and provides that all reports, analyses, and statements issued by the office are open to the public inspection and will be posted on the office's website, subject to limitations in the Freedom of Information Act and any applicable law. Section 40 addresses the director's access to records needed to perform his duties. This is largely a language cleanup, except that Section 40C provides that the director will have read-only access to the city's budget, financial, procurement, and related systems in order to export data and run reports. And finally, as I noted at the beginning, Sections 50 and 60, which pertain to the Council Office of Financial Analysis Oversight Committee, are deleted by this amendment.
Thank you, Scott. Before we get started with the discussion from the committee members, I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce or reintroduce to others Jonathan Silverstein and Ken Williams, who are here, who are the two current COFA staff members. They have been the ones preparing the reports so far. I wanted to also just explain some of the ordinance changes, that now aldermen no longer have to request COFA analysis through the chairman of the Committee on the Budget and Government Operations. You can make your request for analysis directly to the COFA office. That all reports and analysis produced by COFA will be made publicly available on COFA's new website. That website is www.chicago.gov/COFA. COFA is better granted and has broader access to the city's financial documents in order to better analyze the impact of future ordinances on the city's budget. And COFA's powers and duties are updated to require the production of various quarterly and yearly reports. With aldermen getting direct access to COFA, the COFA Oversight Committee is no longer needed and thus disbanded. The real purpose was to take the brick off of COFA so that COFA can do its work without interference from the various committees and oversight committees and people. So I would like to thank Scott Spears from the Department of Law for crafting the revised ordinance. Scott, as you see, is on hand to answer any questions you might have regarding the ordinance. I also want to thank Elsa Jaramillo for working to ensure that while we go through this process, COFA gets to where it needs to be. This is just the first step for COFA. Hopefully, we will have a director hired soon, and adequate time is going to be given to see how the office will be working, whether we need to change other duties, structures, and responsibilities so the office can be consistent in its work. With that, I open it up for questions and comments from the aldermen, and I see Alderman Irvin has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Excuse me, Alderman Irvin,
I'm
before
sorry.
you start, I should have recognized Alderman Smith and Alderman Riley, who also worked with me on this. Alderman Smith.
Thank you, and thank you, Alderman Irvin. Alderman Dow, I want to, first of all, applaud your leadership on this issue. Very early in your chairmanship that you decided that you wanted to make COFA, which you worked on so hard as a member of City Council. Gosh, is it 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago already, when we passed COFA, to, as you say, take the brick off of it. This is an office which has been very successful in other cities, and we all know that when you and I and Alderman Pawar worked hard to get it established, that it was a compromise and a first step. So I couldn't be more proud to support you in this ordinance, and to look forward to the wonderful work that COFA can do if it is unleashed for the rest of City Council. And I certainly will be calling on COFA to do analyses of a lot of issues, and I sincerely encourage my colleagues to do the same. Congratulations, Alderman.
Thank you, Alderman Smith. Alderman Riley?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I also want to thank you for leading this effort in setting COFA free. I think we all agree that when COFA was first created, that we envisioned a far more proactive and independent office than we've had to date. And so I want to thank you in your new role as chairman of the Budget Committee for making the decision to eliminate the gatekeeper and the Oversight Committee and allow COFA to respond directly to individual aldermen's requests without any interference or filters. I think this is a big step in the right direction for transparency, the creation of a website, requiring reports to be publicly available, allowing any alderman to request financial analysis, and having quarterly activity reports, I think, brings a whole new level of transparency to City Council. And this is the information I think the public has been deprived of for far too long. So I want to thank you for leading the charge. I agree with Alderman Smith that this ordinance is a big step in the right direction, and I see a synergistic relationship moving forward between COFA and the new attorneys that have just been brought on board in the Legislative Reference Bureau. And we have two of them here in the audience today. I'd ask them both to stand up so I can embarrass them. Michael Howlett and Dana O'Leary are two of our three COFA attorneys, LRB attorneys. And just like COFA, they are also available to individual aldermen without any interference, filters, or the like. And so look at these two as a resource. But I do believe that COFA and LRB can find ways to work together as policy is being drafted, financial analysis can be prepared in tandem. And that is something I know that we can talk about next year once COFA is solidly in place and workloads have been determined. But again, congratulations, Chairman. I think this is a fantastic ordinance, and I know that there are a lot of good government groups that support it as well. Change Illinois and the Civic Federation are both strong proponents. So I'd encourage my colleagues to support this good government reform, and let's shed some more light on the finances here at City Hall. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Alderman Riley. Alderman Irvin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, thank you for your leadership on this issue. I do believe that this is a step in the direction that all of us need. Not all of us have financial backgrounds. Some have varying degrees and understanding of that, and I think that this is a great tool to help our members understand the financial impact of the decisions that we make here as a body. One question that does jump out at me, if one alderman asks for something, is that something that will be shared with the council, or is that just specifically for that individual?
It goes to the alderman that made the request, and the document is also put on the website, so you still have access to it.
Okay. Will the website be the primary sharing point of information, or will it be sent out similarly to like the analysis, the budget analysis? The forecast analysis was sent out to everyone.
Those kind of analysis, which are for the entirety of the public, are given to every individual alderman, but a request made by a particular alderman for an analysis is going to be either available on the website, or if it becomes part of the public discussion within our body as in terms of an ordinance, it would be given to everyone.
Okay. And will the I know in the past we used to get these financial impact statements on every ordinance. Will that continue as well?
Yes, we have been doing that.
Okay, I just want to be sure about that. And as we progress in this, I would imagine that the body of information that we get would definitely grow. So again, I definitely believe that this is a step in the right direction, and whatever we can do to bring more information to us as we make decisions, I think is a positive thing. The only thing that I do ask is that this doesn't our request end up as a menu item that we have to pay for. So thank you.
Good point. Alderman Wagasback?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you very much for spearheading this effort. I know it's been many years in the making. And when we initially looked at New York City, obviously their funding track was much larger than what we've had. So I wonder if you had any discussions about how we can improve the funding there, and what floor they would have for moving in that direction to increase the staff and increase the resources they have. And then also, how will they be able to tackle this upcoming budget and provide us with an independent review, if possible?
Well, we had looked at, right now we have 2 people in the office. The intent was to change the ordinance to right-size the responsibilities of the office, and then to hire the additional person and the director. We're going to have to make do with who we have now, and I don't think at this time it has impacted or negatively impacted their ability to, one, respond to aldermanic requests at this point, and they have provided analysis for the CAFR and the budget forecasts. So I anticipate that they'll still be able to continue to do their work. I think we used 2020 to figure out how to right-size the office, if necessary, based on how busy they are, if they're overwhelmed, do they need more equipment or larger office space or whatever. But right now, we're in a transition period.
Okay. Well, I appreciate all your effort on this, along with Alderman Riley, Alderman Smith, and the other folks that worked on it, Mr. Spears. And I strongly support this change and hope that we can move forward on it today and in the full City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Wagasback. Alderman Kappelman?
Son, yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I was thrilled when COFA was first established, and what it was back then and what it is today is different. I suspect I will want that what is COFA is like today should be very different 4 years from now. I think oftentimes those who have some of the greatest input are the staff members of COFA themselves. So I would like to hear some type of a report on a regular basis, ideas from them on what they believe that can be done to improve COFA and its response to us as colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We did work with them and get input from members related to this current amendment. And going forward, I would look forward to the director of the office and the staff to figure out what other changes need to be made if necessary. Thank you. Seeing no more questions, Alderman Riley.
Sorry, Chairman, just one last comment to follow up on Chairman Wagasback's comments about budgeting and growing the office. I agree with you 100%, Chairman, that let's allow COFA to be fully staffed under the current budget constraints, but I think we agree that the long-term vision, maybe not next year, but in coming years, is to make this truly a standalone public agency that we can depend on for year-round analysis of departmental functioning and budgets, and working with the Inspector General and auditing and all of these things. So again, I think this is a huge step in the right direction, but I envision this office growing and changing over time like Chairman Dowell does. But
Yeah,
I just want to
agree.
clarify that for the point, for the
Thank you
record.
very much, Alderman Riley.
Thanks, Chairman.
Before we have take a vote on this, we have some speakers. Marie Dillon from the Better Government Association.
Can you hear me? Okay. Good morning. My name is Marie Dillon. I'm the Director of Policy for the Better Government Association here in Chicago, and I'm here to speak in support of this ordinance concerning the powers and duties of the Council Office of Financial Analysis, or COFA. Better?
Better.
All right. This office was created in 2013 to provide independent and professional guidance to help aldermen cast informed votes on matters involving taxpayer dollars, yet here we are more than 5 years later, and it still has not really achieved liftoff. Although the chief analyst left his job in May, many aldermen learned about this vacancy, as I did, through a reporter at Crane's Chicago Business, several weeks after the fact. By that time, an office with a budgeted staff of 4 was down to a single employee, just as the new mayor and city council prepare to deal with a deficit now estimated at $838 million. Closing that gap is an emergency, but Chicago faces a long haul and many difficult choices beyond the year's budget. Will the City Council be a partner in those decisions or a bystander? A fully empowered financial advisor will make that difference. The changes proposed here would remove the obstacles that have kept COFA from doing its job fully, and the BGA is especially pleased to see a provision requiring the office to post all of its reports and statements on the public website. The people of Chicago have entrusted you with their tax dollars. They deserve to know how you're spending them and why, and they deserve to know that you're asking questions and getting answers from someone besides the mayor. I urge you to approve these changes. A further change we would like to see is guaranteed minimum budget for COFA to maximize its impact and protect its independence. In 2013, the mayor and aldermen discussed a starting budget of $500,000. Actual appropriations have been in the neighborhood of $300,000 per year. Low expectations are self-fulfilling, and we can do better. The City Council should demand more from COFA and insist on funding to keep pace with its expanding workload. This office has the potential to pay for itself many times over. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dillon. And if you don't mind, would you leave your remarks with us, please, for the record? The next speaker will be George Blakemore.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman Pat Dow. Money and budget is very important. Dealing with waste, fraud, and abuse. You have to get an auditor that come in, and they should do line items. Line items. Whatever firm that's going to come in and check this money, it needs to be audited, and not yearly, but maybe every 3 months, because it's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse that goes on in this zoning and this budget dealing with the finance. So Chicago is known for corruption. So they need to have an overseer, and that overseer must be staff. You must have sufficient staff. I don't think $500,000 would be enough. Somebody said 300,000 or whatever the figure. But it's very important that you have this, because you have no watchdog. This lady just popped up and say about the budget, and then somebody else come in. You have no watchdog. And this is why you get away with this corruption. You don't have your degree in finance. You don't have your degree in finance, but you still should be able to watch this money. To watch this money. So you have to put people in position that's trained and have expertise in these positions. I didn't know that you was trained in finance. Perhaps Ms. Lightfoot should have appointed someone here, and I don't know if any of you sitting here have a degree in finance. And that's your expertise, dealing with money. But you should have staff that know how. But otherwise, it's waste, fraud, and abuse. And the citizens do not respect you, all of you. They call you all political hacks. But I call some of the citizens are hacks too, because they continuously put you back in office and they do not show up and show out.
Thank you, Mr. Blakemore. Do I have a motion on item number 5 on the agenda? So moved by Alderman Sawyer. Recommending do pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? In the opinion of the chairs, the ayes have it. All of the items today will be reported out at the full City Council meeting on October 16th. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Alderman Riley. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. This concludes the Committee on the Budget and Government Operations meeting. The meeting is adjourned. Have a good day, everyone.